Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the introduction. And to begin with, I want to say two things. It is not my story. I'm not here to tell my story. Nor am I here to preach. Basically because I have had a fairly stable and comfortable life, and therefore nothing much to tell as a story. And I don't think I have reached a level of enlightenment that is necessary for becoming a preacher. Therefore, I'm going to do neither. Then the question obviously that probably comes into your mind is that then why am I here? So really speaking, what has happened is I've been a finance professional all my life. I have seen the startup ecosystem evolving in the last 2.5 decades, and I have also seen stellar examples of success and equal examples of failures or not such great endings. Looking at all this from a sideline, I created a perspective about it in my mind, as to what probably might be constituting a success, what probably might be constituting not such a successful story, and so on. And I thought, why not share this perspective with each one of you so that it might be of some help to those who are wanting to get into this route of a startup journey. Let me give you some logos. I think even without the names that are there in those logos, I think these logos today need no introduction. Revenues ranging from 100 billions to half a trillion, market capitalizations to, dwarf a country's gross domestic product. These are some of the stellar examples of the successful enterprise which all were a startup at one point of time. But what is so common in all these five names? Or these five are just the illustrations, the names like these five. They were started merely as an idea. Apple with their Macintosh, Google, I'm sure we all know the Google journey, Amazon, Tesla brought the electric vehicles to us probably for the first time, and Microsoft, who made our disk operating system way back in 1980s. So they all were an idea in some super special or super expert brain at that point of time. They have touched and changed our lives more than one ways. Today we cannot imagine a phone without an Apple brand. Today we cannot drive without Google Maps. I'm told nowadays, when a newcomer starts driving a car, he first installs a Google map before he gets the instructor. So that is the power of Google Map. Amazon, we all are on Amazon buying things one way or another. Tesla, Microsoft, they have all touched their life with their products and services, our lives in more than one ways. And they are all today super successful. I think these three things bond these five and many like these five in one thread of startup ecosystem. So welcome to the ecosystem called startup. Do we know who this gentleman is? Probably we do. Do we know who this gentleman is? Of course we do. Sachin Tendulkar, the master. Do we know who this gentleman is? Of course yes. The star of the Bollywood, Shah Rukh Khan. Amitabh Bachchan, Sachin Tendulkar, Shah Rukh Khan need no introduction. We all know who they are. But do you know, now I'm going to show you a picture. And do you know him? Probably the answer is no. That's me, by the way. But still, many of you or most of you don't know me. So probably not. And therefore, the reason is, why not? The question is, why not? Why do you know Amitabh Bachchan, Sachin Tendulkar, Shah Rukh Khan, and not Vineet Joshi? Because, like many startups that I referred right in the beginning of my presentation, he is probably one of the many startups or many people or the entrepreneurs who did not make it big, who tried the uncharted territory and uncharted path of startup ecosystem, but probably couldn't get there for one reason or another. Today, we are trying to analyze or assess as to why. But before we get there, let's understand two things very clearly. There is no clear formula for a success. Success depends on multiple things. Success depends amongst many things on luck as well. Being there at the right time, at the right moment, with right kind of resources means success. But does it always mean success? Answer is no. People have never figured so far, despite having 100-year-old industry, as to what will make a film click and what will not make a film click, because success has no clear formula. But there are certain principles that we all can know, understand, and try to follow, which potentially and possibly can lead us to that coveted position at the top or very close to the top. Purpose. 4 W's and 1 H. I think they have added a 5th W over here. When, where, what, who, why, how. These are, as we all know, the questions that are asked often while we do anything. But the most important question for a startup or any startup enterprise is, why am I doing this? Because in the initial phase, when the startup is nothing but an idea, one has to be very clear as to what is the purpose, or why am I into it, and why am I getting into a path which has not been charted hitherto. Because why creates a purpose? Purpose creates an alignment, and alignment creates a pride. And believe me and trust me, in the initial days of startup, like more than any time else, you need people who have pride in their mind about what they are doing, what they are about to do, and the way they are about to change the things that are happening around us. So therefore, why of a purpose, or why or a purpose, is the most important thing that one has to first discern and understand. Embrace critics, but avoid cynics. Do not go close to the cynics, those who are out to put you down. Put them down, but then embrace critics. Embrace healthy criticism, internalize that, and act on it to the extent you feel appropriate. Next is trusteeship. My most favorite point in the whole exercise is trusteeship. Any startup entrepreneur will be entrusted with resources, predominantly in the form of money, by way of valuations and equity stakes by investors, to be able to realize the dream that he has set out to achieve. What is this money? Is that the money belonging to the startup? Answer is probably no. This is the money given by the investor to the startup entrepreneur so that he can realize his dream, and in turn, it can give the required returns to the investor who has given that money. Therefore, use this money as a trustee. Invest, not splurge. Acquire companies. We see examples all around us. It sounds very exciting. A $1 billion acquisition in certain field. But have we really made an assessment of what that acquisition is all about? Have we really made an assessment of how that acquisition is going to add value to us, and how, if at all, and at the end of the whole thing, are we going to integrate that acquisition with us? If we have not done it, we have not done justice to the exercise called startup. Governance. The third in the list, but not the lowest. Governance is not something that you do when you get time. Governance is not something that you do when you achieve a certain state or achieve a certain scale. Governance is not something that is optional. Governance has to get into the lifeblood or the whole thought process of the startup right from the word go. Compliance, conduct, and ethics are probably 3 buzzwords that go along with governance. And trust me, many a times we will hear things like this, that governance is so time consuming. Compliance, who's going to go after that? That's so time consuming. Leave it to the accountant. That's probably not how you want to look at governance. Because while you are chasing your ideas, while you are chasing your dreams, while you are busy creating value, governance is the one single thing that is going to help you maintain that value and enhance that value. Because if you don't do governance, we see examples all around us. The enterprise is getting sued for non-compliances. Enterprise is getting sued for flouting the laws and rules and regulations and coming to their knees, practically getting wiped out. Why? Because somewhere the governance was given a go by. Priorities. I had heard myself personally that growth is everything and cash flow is nothing. As a matter of fact, it perhaps is the other way around. Get your priorities right. The valuations are important. Valuations are absolutely important because that is the only thing that's going to make sure that you get the returns to your dreams. But at some point of time, if you use that money to undercut and sell at losses, just to keep on, cover up the losses done by the business through the equity, you are writing your own epitaph. Cash flow at a certain defined point of time in the life cycle is the most important thing in the journey of a startup, and therefore every entrepreneur must prioritize that, because funding, as there's a proverbial saying that profits are a opinion, cash is real, and that applies equally or even more in the context of startup ecosystem. In this slide, I think you will see two images, optimism and euphoria. Both create energy. Optimism absolutely creates an energy. An entrepreneur cannot be an entrepreneur without being an optimist, because optimism does provide the energy to move forward despite adversities. And euphoria also creates the energy, but that energy is unrestricted. The nuclear fission used in a nuclear power plant creates electricity, and nuclear fission used in an atomic explosion or a nuclear bomb creates destruction. Optimism and euphemism have somewhat similar metaphor. The line between the two is very thin or sometimes even invisible. We have to make it our mission to identify it and make sure that it is not transgressed ever. And lastly, pragmatism. If you will see here, the prominent thing that you will find is that somebody changing tracks. What does pragmatism mean? Pragmatism means being realist. Correct the course when it is needed. Drop the idea which is irrelevant. Give up the paths that are turning out to be thornier than what you thought. Go down the path which are becoming more relevant now. Do not stick to an idea just because you said once so. Just because your ego is coming in the way, because ego will kill a concept or an idea or a path. And therefore, passion to achieve something is positive. Obsession to stay with that despite having proven that it's not going to work, is not going to happen, is killing. And therefore, we all have to understand. Some of these things apply in our lives also, but since we are talking of the life cycle of a startup, I'm putting this metaphor in the context of a startup, that passion is positive and obsession is killing. So to sum up, friends, out of whatever we have said so far, what are the 4 P's to the success that we can think of and we can talk about? Pride and purpose. Because just to say once again, the purpose leads to pride, and pride leads to alignment. Trusteeship, we all know what it is now. The money that is with you is not your money. Invest it, not splurge it. Passion. Understanding the difference between passion and obsession. And finally, pragmatism. If we embrace all these, my feeling is that the success may not be too far away from us. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity to share my thoughts and views with you. Thank you so much.